What's up, my man?
What up, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. What's up with this weather, man? I'm not feeling this. Yeah,
Right,
I know we Seattle, man, but we gotta get some more love than this, bro.
right.
Especially gonna keep us in quarantine.
Man, the one thing I got going is just pop a shot down in the basement, man.
Right,
You know?
right. It keeps it going, man. You can have a little competition down there.
Yeah,
That's what's up, man. So we'll go over a little bit of background on you. Talk about the storm a little bit, then talk about the fam, and then we'll be in and get out, man. It'll be a quick one, but
perfect.
we'll have the people kind of ask some questions as we go about it. We may stop kind of what we're talking about as we go. If I see some good questions, or if you see some good questions as well. So
Perfect.
tell me a little bit about high school and how you ended up at Seattle U and your experience in high school and how you kind of chose Seattle U.
Yeah, man. So I went to Mount Lake Terrace up north. I had a pretty successful high school career. I played with the Rotary for my AAU team.
Okay.
I had Aaron Brooks as a starting point guard, and then I had Lindell Burleson as the second starting point guard,
Right.
or as the backup point guard, and then I had me.
Practices was lit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We go at it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'd
Right.
have to try to go to the post against
Mm-hmm. I know that post shoulder all too well.
Yeah. No, man, but I say that because I was like a third string P point guard on my AAU program and got a full ride scholarship to Seattle U.
Crazy.
Um,
Talk about a loaded roster.
Loaded roster. I had a few D1 offers and whatnot, but Seattle U and its history, they were kind of down. You know what I mean? When I got recruited by them, and I felt like I wanted to accept the challenge of possibly getting other guys there, but also seeing if I could help turn that program around, man. And so
Were they Division II when you went there? When you
yeah.
committed?
Yeah, and so my senior year is when they first started talking about going back D1. And I remember having to convince the board why it would be a good idea to go back to D1, like it's
Right.
like a no-brainer. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
So yeah, but I think when I got recruited there, the team was like 6-20 something.
Right.
And then my senior year, we were 20-9, made it to the dance and everything like that. So,
Nice.
yeah, I mean, I had a bunch of, offers here and there, but for some reason, the towns being in Seattle, that really attracted me, and I wanted to accept this challenge and see if I could turn this program around.
And I don't know how much you know about this from an institutional standpoint, but what's the process like of going from Division I to Division II to Division I?
Oh, I think there was a probationary period because then you have to, I think, apply to get into conferences.
For sure, you're independent for a while.
Right. And so I think there was a process there where they had applied to get into a few different conferences, and then they finally got into the conference they're in currently and whatnot.
Right.
So for those couple seasons, they were independent, but they could operate as a D1.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I was doing some research a couple of years ago, and it's like I think Notre Dame or some like big schools like just stayed independent and just makes a crazy schedule on their own, and then they just kind of have to get ranked or whatever to get into the tournament.
Right. It's funny because you think about who they play. They play random teams, right? You never
The
hear
whole year.
the whole year. So,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
They'll be in February and then playing Arizona, and then they'll have a random game against Duke or something like that.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Right. That's what's up, man. What was going through your mind after you graduated? Did you try to play professionally, or what
Yeah.
you graduated 07, huh?
07. Yeah. And it was interesting. I think every collegiate athlete, right, especially if you are experiencing some success, right, and then everybody in your, you should go pro, you should go pro.
For sure.
I was like, I entertained the idea of going pro, and I was late to the game and picking up an agent. I didn't really have a lot of the access. I didn't really know as much, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the realities were I was a point guard who, was maybe like top 5 in the nation in assists.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was more of a true point guard. So the attraction wasn't necessarily there for someone with my skill set at the time.
Right.
So, you know, that was tough. But I held on to it as long as I could for a couple of years. And it's like, okay, well, I can't really be in the gym all the time. I need to try to make some ends. So,
sure.
it's actually, that's actually how I got with the Storm. I was playing in the men's leagues trying to stay in shape. And someone asked me if I wanted to be a Storm practice player.
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah, are you kidding me? Yeah. Sue Bird, Lauren Jackson. At the time we had Cheryl Swoops.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to. And that's kind of how my journey began.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We got one question that popped up before it goes too long.
Yeah.
It says, what made you get into the sport of basketball in the first place? And how old were you when you started?
Oh man, I mean, I was definitely that kid that had that Fisher-Price basket, you know, at a young age.
For sure. The blue bottom with the red hoop.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I was on that thing all the time. But, you know, I remember playing basketball on a team in kindergarten, and I remember the feeling that I had while playing. Right. You know, for whatever reason in kindergarten, like the way I moved, it made sense, you know, and then I experienced success with it, and I just this hunger grew. Whereas other sports, it was like I enjoy playing this sport, but basketball at a really, really young age seemed to make a lot of sense to me, and I just wanted to continue pursuing it.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. Got another question. As an athlete, how do you avoid, not how did you, but how do you avoid getting pigeonholed into one position that becomes a problem for you if you grow? So like, you know, if you just happen to be tall as a fourth grader, how do you avoid kind of just teams putting you in the post and not letting you do other things because it's beneficial? You see that a lot. You see a lot of guys that kind of aren't really here to develop kids, and they'll just say, well, you're tall, so just go rebound and block shots for me. Right.
I think that, you know, that's a really good question. I think, you know, it depending on the style of game you have, I think you have to be careful not to go outside of this role that you have on your team. Mm-hmm. But it's never bad to continue to work on skills that you want to try to improve in. So if you are a tall fourth grader, right, mm-hmm. that can shoot and play outside, well, maybe on your team, what that team needs from you right then and there is they want to see you inside, maybe setting screens and rolling, getting rebounds and stuff like that. But stay patient, keep working on your skills as you move away from the rim. And I guarantee you, your time will come. Your time will come where a coach will be like, you know what, this kid can actually shoot threes. We need him to space the floor. You know,
no intelligent coach does not enjoy a versatile player.
Right. And, you know, I mean, if a player is really feeling like they're stuck in a box and they mm-hmm. need to get out of that box, then I would say maybe it's time to explore some things, you know?
Right. So. Right. I agree, man. There's what you'll see these tall kids, and they're tall, and they start working on the guard stuff before they start working on the post stuff. Right. Like I was tall when I was growing up. I grew early, and so you know I always played 4, never really 5, but like 3, 4, some 5 or whatever. But I was never limited to the post.
Yeah.
But you know I became a physical guard because I was in the post first, and then transitioned to the wing. Right?
Exactly.
So like you have to fall in love. Like don't fall in love with your bread and butter, right? Like don't just be average at everything. Be really good at something, then kind of grow your way out.
Right. I mean, one of my high school teammates, Dan Boxley, I don't know if you know him from
Boxley Brothers.
Yeah, he was a 6 foot. He was the 4-man for us. You know what I mean? At 6 foot, right?
Right.
And his game developed later, but what he was really good at was finishing because he would get the ball often inside. We'd have him little dump offs and everything like that. So when his game progressed and he moved out to the wing, if he broke somebody down, like finishing for him was kind of automatic because that's where he was at, you know, for some of the years he was playing and everything. So it all will work out. You know, coaches will see it.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So
for sure. Adam Jose said he wants you to shout out all the Mount Lake Terrace pipeline. Say y'all got a cold pipeline going out of MT.
Oh man, I mean, you know, it starts off with, I would say, Shea Box, Nick Lano, Dan Boxley, Roger Rusak, Cameron Rowland, myself,
got a cold lineup.
Mike Boxley, Luke Hammond, Christian Hammond, man, Adrian Blake. I mean, it's like we had some
cold list.
Yeah, man, we had a really, really unique just squad, man. You know what I'm saying? For years, you know, and it's, I remember when I was in high school playing and people be like, Mount Lake Terrace.
Right.
Where is that? That's way north, isn't it? That's
So
far
y'all
north.
in Bellingham or what?
Right. What's even out there, you know?
Right.
And nowadays it's like we got the light rail going through, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I always say, like, we kind of put Terrace on the map a little bit. So.
Right. What we got another question. What motivates you now that you're, and I'm assuming this question is about coaching now instead of playing. Not, I mean, 99.999% of the best players are competitive, right? I mean, and there's different. Some people think they're competitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until you get around other hyper competitive people, where it's like a lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when you're no longer competing in your passion, and you have to kind of put that to the side, and you're playing for fun, you can still compete there, but it's just always different. Now that you've shifted your focus into coaching, what's your motivation? What drives you to get up? What's your aside from your family? What's your motivation to get better as a coach?
Oh man, I think it's a growth mindset, and it's, you know, I don't have anything figured out, right? Mm-hmm. I want to learn as much as possible anywhere I can. So I might not sit and watch 1,000 clips on basketball. I might go read about karate. I might go read about other things that have to deal with your body, or how other fields attack what they do. You know, for instance, like the Navy's take on failure, like fail to them stands for first attempt in learning. You know what I mean? So it's like, those are the things that motivate me. And honestly, when I see players like Sue, when I see players like Stewie, when I see players like Jewel and AC, when they hit the gym, and I see the way they attack anything that they do, that's motivating for me too. So I want to that motivates me, for me to give them the best of myself.
For sure. So you're the player development coach that's your role, right? Are you the only player development coach for the Storm?
Yeah, you know, the W, we have limited resources, so we tend to wear many hats. You know, the league will have maybe a lead player development person, but then like 5 or 6 bodies that will help implement their player development program. You know what I mean?
Right.
So my role of player development is to make sure our women are growing, to make sure they're getting in their reps. Talk about offensive X's and O's. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. Go over some film as well, you know. So it's not just, hey, a player needs help shooting, I'm going to get on the floor with that player. It's a lot, you know.
Right. Yeah. How did you, so fast forwarding to the Storm, I'd imagine you probably were, you know, a Storm practice player, and then that kind of led you to be a coach in there. Talk about that, how that evolution happened.
Yeah, so I became one of the more consistent practice players, right? And that's during the time I started practicing with the Storm is when I really started getting into coaching youth and high school around the area. And, you know, being one of the more consistent faces at practice, I got to know the coaching staff and everything like that. And I don't know, one day I just went up to the head coach and I said, hey, you know, I coach youth around the area. Would it be okay if I just sit in on some of your pre-practice meetings and post-practice meetings, so I could just be a fly on the wall and learn the X's and O's, or learn how you put together a practice and just learn, right?
Right.
And, you know, they were like, sure. And so that turned into me getting a few more responsibilities at practice, like being in charge of the scout team. So I had to learn all of the other team's plays and whatnot, and then make sure I got our team to run those plays and stuff. Right. And then it turned into an internship, unpaid internship. I was still there showing up, you know, still coaching on the side. And at the end of my intern year, they surprised me with offering me an assistant coaching position.
And that was in the first year?
Yeah. And so that's, I've been there ever since, man. And, you know, had a few coaching changes and I'm still there. So, you know, I'm extremely fortunate.
Nice. That's love, man.
Yeah.
What's a common misconception about the WNBA?
Oh, I mean,
I know we could go on for
right. I would say, like, look at any time the NBA or ESPN posts anything about the WNBA, and then read the comments. You know, I think one of the most common misconceptions is just the level of basketball IQ or the level of competitiveness and whatnot.
Right.
I mean, you've seen it, you know, you've played against it, and
Absolutely.
it's no joke. It's elite, you know, and we have such a small league right now because the W's still growing. There are not a lot of spots to be filled. So the people that are making rosters, these are women that can ball out
best in the world.
And are the best in the world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I remember. I mean, I used to be a practice player as well when I got out of college in 2011, and yeah, I remember several times just getting cooked on. They're so because they don't have the athletic ability to recover. Like you see a lot of highlights, especially defensive highlights. You see a lot of highlights on the defensive end. That was a blown rotation that they recovered athletically. Right. That wasn't just. I mean, some of it's great timing or whatever, but a lot of times those end up being charges. But the great blocks or the steals that just happen to be extremely lightning quick hands, or a 40-inch vertical and you're 6'11". Right. You watch. You know, a lot. They don't have that level. They're the best for women, but obviously genetically there's a difference. So there has to be a certain, in order to still put the ball in the basket, and even more importantly to get stops, there has to be. I mean, hyper detailed execution. And people don't understand that until you're caught in that and you get hit with a double screen and a trip and a knee to the thigh, and then they're flaring to the corner. The shot's already up before you even. It's crazy. It's crazy, the detail.
The cohesiveness of the team dynamic is absolutely crazy. And, that's the way that Birdie kind of puts her team out there. You know, like everybody is dialed in. Like I remember our championship year, man, going back and watching game film, watching us offensively, watching us defensively. It was just, sometimes it was real clinical. You know what I mean? Just the way we moved with the basketball and everything, and the way we helped each other defensively and whatnot. It was exactly like you said.
For sure. Another question we got is, do you believe that practicing and playing other sports can help you with basketball?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many different elements in different sports that will help you with, eye-hand, the relationship there, or just like all around movement and balance and whatnot, and competitiveness, like absolutely soccer with your footwork, you know what I mean?
I started with soccer too.
Yeah.
What's some of the biggest challenges aside? I mean, there's several different details. It goes down to budgeting and all that type of stuff like that. But what's the biggest challenge you've had, and some of the big adjustments you've had to make when coaching? Obviously, coaching youth and coaching, at the professional women's level is two different apples and oranges, right? What are some big adjustments that you've had to make, earlier, and then what are some more recent adjustments you've had to do?
So I think for me, in my early years, it was when you're talking to the greatest point guard to play the game about certain things, you better know your stuff, or you better be able to say, you know what, let me go check on that.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? You got to be able to be that truthful, that honest with it. But because if you start saying something and you get challenged, and then you get questioned, and you start fumbling, and you lose kind of this credibility, and more importantly,
which is everything,
you lose this trust, right? So
then they stop coming to you.
And then they stop coming to you. You know what I mean? So that was, first year, you want to know everything. You want to create that trust. So you want to always give an answer. And sometimes the answer is having no answer, but telling them you're going to go find it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So,
Exactly. That makes sense. We got another question. As a player, what's your go-to score? What's your sweet spot to score the basketball? Where you like getting to?
Oh man, Kel, you answer that.
I'm gonna say right elbow, face-up jump shot.
Yes. I love playing in the pick and roll. I love playing in the mid-range, and then I love playing, some little post-up game.
For sure. Yeah. Gotta be versatile.
Yeah. I'm still a firm believer in the mid game. I'm still 2-point pull up. I mean, you look at championship teams. There's always one player that is going to give you a bucket. You know what I'm saying?
At least.
Yeah,
Even if
exactly.
he's coming off the bench like Sean Livingston for the Warriors a couple years ago, his mid range was cold.
Yes, you need that mid range.
You have to.
It's still definitely important. I feel like those are the teams that are constantly in championships, or they have players that can play in that mid range. So
It keeps the defense honest. Like if you know, if I can take away your 3-point shot and I can pressure you, and then I can rely on my 7-footer to rotate to take away the rim,
right,
it's very. What else do you have?
right,
Right? You
right.
have to. There's so much. There's that time, and like one of the best guys I ever saw, aside from the Mount Rushmore guys, was Brandon Roy in terms of getting to his spots. Like
Right.
he would just get to his spot, and before help could come, he would have that high release. You
Right.
just couldn't do anything.
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, you see it now with Kawhi. Like, yeah, he can shoot threes and everything like that, but he's getting to his spots and his
For
mid
sure.
ranges.
For
That's
sure.
what opens up everything else.
For
So,
sure.
yeah.
Jewel Lloyd just tapped in. What's Jewel Lloyd's best offensive move?
Ooh, man. I mean, aside from just trying to catch up with her, trying to. Oh man, having to chase her off of a floppy screen, having to chase her off of a pin down or whatnot, like it's kind of annoying, man. It's
For
kind of
sure.
annoying. I
For
mean,
sure.
she's just so athletic and so quick, and her mid range is
counters.
absolutely killer. You know what I
sure.
mean? Like just what
sure.
we're talking about.
Sure.
So yeah.
For sure. Think about if Jewel Lloyd didn't have a mid range, what her offensive package would be like.
Oof. I mean, you know what? The thing is, if she didn't, I think she'd be able to break you down at any cost and get to the rim.
Right.
And she still shoots threes at a high percentage.
For sure.
So,
For sure.
you know?
But I mean, that goes back to talking about like that just makes her that much better. She's
Oh,
still
that
a
much
great
better.
player, but
Absolutely.
yeah. I hear you, man. So what's last thing we want to talk about is being a basketball dad. So I'm going through that like an early stage. Like my kids haven't started playing. My oldest is only 4. You know, you got a boy who plays competitively.
Yeah.
How has it been sitting in the stands? You know, because competitive dads that played, there's 2 dads, right? There's the dad that's like, ah, and then there's the dad that don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
How have you kind of grappled with that?
Man, so I wear it all over my face. So I'm not the dad that's yelling or saying, but my silence, if my son has a turnover, I will, if he looks over at me, I will be like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
No, it's interesting because I always have told myself that I'm going to wait for him to show interest in the game, right? I'm not going to apply all this basketball around it because you know what? I already do it by what I do.
Exactly.
So he's grown up in the gym. He's
it.
grown up with a basketball. He's
Right.
seen dad do A, B, C, D, and E with basketball.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was just waiting to that moment where he was like, hey, Dad, I'm really starting to enjoy this. And then I'm like, okay, let's see what we can do with it. I allow his coaches, his team, I allow him to be coached. I allow him to be a part of that system. And if he has questions that he wants to ask, then you know what I'm saying? I definitely ask him if he wants to get some work in, then I show him a different side of dad. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But yeah, I'm letting him dive into his basketball experience because I want him to create his own journey. It's not about me. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be here to help you in any way that I can.
For sure.
But it's not gonna be about me. It's got to be about his journey. So
absolutely. I love it, man. We got one more question. It says, as a coach, pick one word that you would want all your players to have as a team. What would you guys be known for if you were the head coach?
Oh,
and this goes at any level, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to put it into just one word.
For sure.
Passionate.
Yeah.
Passionate. You know what I'm saying?
That covers a lot, for sure.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting when you get into professionals, right? You get into these players that have this just ability to play the game with not a lot of passion, right? And so you look at these players, you're always like, "Wow, look what they did," and then you hear about them, and you're like, "What? They don't get in the gym? They don't like getting in the gym."
Right.
There's got to be that passion. Every time I would want my team to step on the floor with passion. I mean, the year we won it, every single player that stepped on the floor played with passion. You know what I mean? The way we attack practice, you know. So
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. That's a good one, man. I was going to say toughness, but you get with passion. A lot of times you got a really passionate player, they're going to be tough and they're going to compete and they're going to do things the right way.
Exactly. So
I'm going to have to steal that one when we get back to action. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, bro, man. That's all I got for the interview.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I really enjoy seeing everything that you're doing and what you're doing for the community and providing these players with more than just basketball, man. It's really great, man. It's awesome.
I appreciate that, man. You know, we got it. Basketball ends at some time, no matter how good you are. You know, so you have to be. If you're not getting more, if you're not giving more than just kind of on-court stuff, you're doing a disservice, in my opinion. So there's a lot of the things that I can thank my coaches for. That in terms of the man that I'm turning out to be, and again, it's always that growth mindset. You can always grow and stuff, but even the growth mindset came from basketball. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that, my man.
Absolutely, man.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, y'all.
Later.